Hello everyone, this is part 27 of What If Naruto Was Trained by the Kyuubi, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. We're back, he announced. Welcome home, Elena shouted from the kitchen. Everyone, I need to see you in the living room ASAP, he called out. 5 minutes later, everyone who resided in the Namikaze mansion sat in the living room awaiting Naruto to speak. Alright, as all of you know, today is the day Natsu-chan, Hana-chan, and myself are leaving Konoha. And unfortunately, with my absence, the protection I give you will be reneged, and more than likely the village will try to do something, especially with Haku-chan's Kekkei Genkai, and Yugito-chan being a Jinchuriki. So I must ask, what will you do? A silence reigned in the room, the aforementioned people shifting in their seats uncomfortable, either from not knowing what they want to do, or being afraid of saying. Anno. Naruto-sama. Haku-chan. Naruto interrupted sweetly. What have said about addressing me by that? He finished just as sweet, with a threat of a bop on the head hidden in his words. Gee. Gamen. She blushed in embarrassment at addressing him like that again. But to your question, ever since I've traveled with you and Natsumi-san, I've felt accepted, happy even. I feel more like a human being while I lived with you than just a tool like I was with Zabuza-sama. And I don't want that feeling to go away. I know it's selfish of me, but could I perhaps travel with you? I understand if you don't want me to follow you, since after all you told me to find my own path in life, but, no matter what I tried to think up, nothing made feel as happy as I was while I traveled with you. She spoke, trying to hide her blush from admitting such truths, especially with her still rather shy nature, even if she was more outgoing than before thanks to Naruto and Natsumi. And you too? Natsumi asked, looking at Yugito and Elena. The pair looked at one another before nodding and looked back at the demon pair. Yugito-chan and I have talked while you were gone, and in truth many of our ideas and plans wouldn't work for several reasons. But the main ones being that she is a Jinchuriki, no matter what village we go to they will want to use her, either as a weapon, breeding stock, or things we dare not think about. The other main reason is the fear of Kumo, she'll become a missing nin and have Kumo trailing us wherever we go. No village will want to house us, and if they do it's not to help us but probably use her as well. Not only that, but we. Elena paused. We trust you, Naruto-kun. And with both our lives, that's a commodity we don't want to give up easily, I'm sure you understand. Quote. She stated, getting a nod from him. Since you moment you two have met, you have done nothing but help my Musumi. You have gone out of your way to protect her from Kumo, to return me to her, and apparently saved not only her but her only friend in Kumo from certain deaths. Basically what I'm trying to say is that, we both wish to stay with you on your travels, if you'll allow it. She finally said bluntly. Where Yugito-chan goes I go. Azanami stated bluntly with a smirk. Plus the eye candy is certainly a bonus. She purred out. Naruto was rather dumbstruck by both testimonies. He expected that Yugito wanted to keep in contact, but didn't think Haku would want to stay with him too. Could you give us a minute? Natsumi said warmly, before pulling both Naruto and Hana from the couch into the next room. Well, that was unexpected, Hana stated bluntly. Well, not completely, we've helped them out in slumps in their lives, so it makes sense to want to stay with us. Though thankfully it's not like they are wounded puppies who couldn't survive on their own. They seem to want to come with us for at least a few reasons that make sense. Naruto argued. And I'm sure one of those reasons isn't that both Iza-chan and Yugito-san want to ride you like a stallion until they fall into a pleasure coma. Natsumi joked offhandedly. What? Hana shouted in a subdued voice. This isn't helping Natsu-chan. Besides, I've already talked to Yugito-chan about her feelings for me. As for Azanami-san, she just needs a man. Or 10. He retorted with a sigh. Well, unfortunately for you, for the time being the only man she wants is the one I'm looking at. Care to explain all this, Naru-kun? Hana said sweetly, with an aura of death surrounding her. I'll explain later, Hana-chan. More importantly, what are your thoughts? Natsumi shrugged nonchalantly. I don't see a problem with it, I've kinda grown attached to Haku-chan. And having another Jinchuriki with us will help in case anything gets serious. Plus I'll miss Iza-chan too much. The demon pair looked at Hana for her answer. I'm fine with Haku-chan, we spoke a lot during the exams and became friendly. Yugito-san on the other hand, I'm not so sure. Naruto frowned at her answer. He knew exactly why Hana felt the way she did, and decided to reassure her. Hana-chan, he called out while cupping her face in his palms. You know I love you. And you know that I wouldn't do anything to purposely hurt you. But I will tell you that Yugito-chan does have romantic feelings for me, but I told her that I didn't feel the same. However, did say that if that fact changed in the future I would speak to both you and Natsu-chan about it, and if you both agreed we would see where things led. But no sooner than that, you two are my only mates, and I love you both more than I can express. Please don't be jealous or defensive of Yugito-chan befriending me. He pleaded warmly. Hana stared into Naruto's eyes, those hypnotic pulls that seemed to just drown her. She heard his words, and while disliking the fact that another woman liked her Naruto, she was glad about how he dealt with the situation. And in the back of her mind she really couldn't blame Yugito for falling for the handsome Hanyu. They both shared so much in common it was slightly scary, so it only made sense that they would grow fond and trusting of each other. She sighed when her common sense overran her possessiveness. I understand Naru-kun, but I don't have to like her having feelings for you. But I can certainly understand why she feels the way she does, so I can't blame her for that. Just promise me that if things change between you two you really will discuss it with Natsumi-san and myself first. I know it's selfish of me, but I don't want to share you even more unless I really have to. She admitted. Naruto smiled, and kissed her lightly as a thank you, before the trio returned to the living room. Gomen for the wait. Natsumi apologized, before sitting down. As for your decisions, are you completely sure this is what you want? While you may leave us later on, we need to know if you are sure about traveling with us now. Without missing a beat, all four females nodded in affirmation. Very well, get your backpacks and let's go, we leave in 5 minutes. What about me, Naruto-sama, Natsumi-sama? Nobunaga, who had been until then silent, spoke up. For the time being, Nobu-san, we need you to continue spying on Orochimaru. However, once our plans for the future are settled we will call for you to stay with us. Naruto answered. Kaname's spy bowed in recognition of his mission, before bidding the pair a farewell and left the house without a sound. 5 minutes later the group of 6 left the house, safer for Izanami to be in the seal, heading for the gates. Konoha gates. The group of 6 each with a backpack walked alongside each other heading towards the gates. The most peculiar thing which caused all the citizens to give the group wide berth in the street was that 2 of the people had fox-like tails and ears, making many believe them to be demons. As the group closed in on the gates, they saw something that made the male demon snort in annoyance. Surrounding the gates were a large group of Anbu and Junin shinobi, some making a blockade along the archway, some standing along the village walls, along the streets as well as atop the nearby rooftops. TSH, guess they don't want to make our leaving an easy one. Naruto said sarcastically, his tails beginning to swish agitatedly. The group reached the gates and stopped a few yards from the blockade, with several of the Junin recognized from the Chunin exams. What's the meaning of this, Kakashi? Natsumi asked, not even trying to hold back the annoyance in her voice. Orders from Hokage-sama, we are to stop you two from leaving before he and the council have another chance to speak to you. Although apparently the mission parameters have to be expanded to include your other companions. He replied boredly. What more could they want? Hana questioned rhetorically, slightly worried that things might go bad quickly. We will just have to wait and see, Hana-chan, because I really don't feel like having to kill all these shinobi just so I can leave. Naruto responded while surveying the shinobi surrounding them. Don't be so shy, demon, it's you versus all of us, do you really think you can win? A random Junin said after getting angry from Naruto's words. Naruto would have responded, but sensed people behind him and turned along with the rest of his group. Stand down. I didn't order you to provoke them. So stay put, the council and I merely wished to speak to them. Sarutobi ordered up. The street behind Naruto was now filled with Sarutobi and the remaining council, as well as several other people that the group couldn't see but Naruto and Natsumi could easily recognize but didn't bother to wonder why they were currently there. What is this all about, Oji-san? It's as I said, Naruto-kun, we merely wished to speak to you before you left. I also have a few personal questions I wanted to ask you myself. What did you wish to speak to us about that would warrant this kind of blockade to stop us from leaving? Natsumi spoke up, obviously annoyed. At Natsumi's question, Hiashi stepped forward, silently taking over as the voice of the council. Simply put, Natsumi-san, both the Hokage and the remaining council have all come to agree that while our prior meetings with you have been hasty and presumptuous on our part, after what occurred in today's meeting, as well as the evidence of your actions since you both have returned, the council has spoken and come to the decision that we wish to have the Yondaime Sochi to remain in Konoha to take over the Namikaze clan as well as all things associated with that clan, including its council seat. We want the hero of Konoha to stay, and that includes his partner. Hiashi said in a gentle manner. While silence mostly reigned in the area, if you listened closely, whispers and murmurs of the implications of Hiashi's words spread through the surrounding shinobi ranks. The four other members of Naruto's group looked at both himself and Natsumi expectantly of their answer. Our answer is no, Naruto answered, shocking many. Nays. Hiashi asked. He just offered the man and his partner who was Kyuubi a free return into the village, bypassing the yellow tape required for it, and they both declined. It's simple really, Hiashi-san. Naruto answered, before sighing at having to explain himself again. What exactly has changed between the first time you asked me to return, and now? He questioned but didn't give him the time to answer before continuing. Nothing as far as Natsu-chan and I are concerned. You really just don't get it, though I'm not surprised since the only people that could Agara, and Yugito-chan. He answered, but only got confused expressions for his efforts. None of you have any idea what it's like to be hated, despised, beaten till you're at death's door, starved, ignored as if you don't exist, cursed, only allowed to buy food that is rotten, clothes that are too old to wear, abandoned, and betrayed, and all by your friends, neighbors, fellow villagers and even your family. It's ironic really. Natsumi cut in. All of you people in shinobi villages would look upon someone like Naru-kun, Gaara-kun, and Yugito-san as if they were a gift from Kami-sama above if they are a shinobi under your ranks. Yet when they are simply trying to live their lives outside the battlefield, or you see one using their powers during missions, you treat them like plagues that are worth less than the dirt you're stepping on. All you can do is be frightened of their power which you forced onto them to inevitably fight for you, to protect you. Yet the moment they show weakness, or the unwillingness to do what you want and turn their backs to you, you s their trip when it was you that made them the way they are in the first place. And you call us demons. She ranted before huffing in annoyance over the selfishness of humans. And to make matters worse, it seems that no matter how much we help you humans, nothing will ever be good enough to reconcile with you, especially with those of this village. Naru-kun nearly single-handedly saved this entire village from its inevitable fate while fighting to save you that day. And had he not interfered and warned your Hokage and council about it in advance, your casualties would be so much higher, and the village itself would be in shambles. Yet after all he has done to protect this place when he had every right after what you all have done to him to watch you and this place burn, you damned ningens still have the audacity to speak about him in such a way. So as he asked, why should he and transversely myself stay in a village that treats their heroes in such a manner? After her speech finished, there was relative silence amongst the Konoha shinobi, many actually thinking about her words, questioning how the invasion would have ended up had Naruto not gone out of his way to warn them and even help fight with them. Many of the shinobi realized they owed a great deal to the demon pair, but in fear of being ostracized kept their words of thanks to themselves. You're absolutely right, Natsumi-san. Sarutobi spoke up, gaining everyone's attention. Quote, I've said it once and I'll say it again. This village will never deserve someone like Naruto-kun. Jinchuriki like him are given a worse treatment in life than even someone like Orochimaru should receive. And to make it worse, most of the time they don't even ask to become one, or they aren't even given a choice in the matter. I cannot apologize enough for what the villagers have done to him, nor for my own inactions to prevent them from happening. The only thing I can say is that from this day forward if you two decide to stay things will be different. The council has all agreed to pardon all of your past activities against the village, giving you a clean slate. And the major clan heads themselves have agreed upon providing yourself and your clan their protection. So you will no longer have to worry about protecting yourself within your home village. I know it isn't much, but it's a start. Please reconsider leaving Konoha, leaving your home. We want the hero you should have been treated as to stay and resurrect the Namikaze clan. Stay and protect the people, the Yondaime, your Tusan SD4. Inoiki added. Naruto sighed at his grandfather's plea. In truth, he would have been glad to stay in the land of his birth, the village his father protected with his own life not once but twice, the place where those important to him lived. But his past shot through his mind, the beatings, starvation, hateful screams and fearful whispers, everything. Even if what his grandfather said were true, it's human nature to hate, despise, and fear things that they don't understand or can't control. And in truth, Jinchuriki are uncontrollable by anyone but the Jinchuriki themselves. Naruto stayed silent, mulling over his thoughts as he surveyed the people around him, and found a variance of expressions, ranging from guilt and shame, to pity, to sadness. But most of all, he still saw barely hidden fear and hatred amongst the shinobi. Albeit not physically, but he could certainly smell it coming off many. He sighed out after seeing everyone, including a mob of civilians who entered the area to see what the commotion was all about. Gomenasai Oji-san, but what you are offering me to stay, I don't need any more. It's as Inaki stated, I should have been treated as a hero. I should have been protected by the clans, or even just random individuals. But that was when I was young and defenseless, when I was abandoned by the family I loved, and left alone by my godparents. He paused and walked between Hana and Natsumi, wrapping his arms around their waists. But now, thanks to Natsu-chan, I'm strong enough to protect myself and protect those who are important to me. As for resurrecting my clan, I already have 2 beautiful mates who I plan on starting a family with in the future. Besides, Konoha has lived without the Namikaze clan for over a decade. I doubt it will suffer much with my absence now. The council, after hearing him, could only mentally agree begrudgingly. However, for one civilian council member, Naruto's refusal was too much to take. Here they were giving full pardons to him and the Kyuubi, as well as protection by the major clans, and he had the gall to refuse. How can you refuse such a generous offer? The Haruno head spoke up, breaking through behind the front line of council members. We are allowing you and that woman a full pardon from your past actions as well as protection by the other clans, and you refuse. In case you forgot, that woman you're standing next to is the Kyuubi demon who nearly wiped us off the map 12 years ago. Yet we are willing to pardon that for her. How can you refuse us? ? You can live here without the threat of what you went through as a child. You can bring back your clan and help give strength back to Konoha and all of Fire Country. Your strength will make the land of fire a place to be feared like it once was when your Tusan was alive. This is the land of your birth. You're the Sochi of the Yondaime Hokage, the strongest shinobi this land ever produced, as well as the clan leader of one of Konoha's most powerful and influential clans. How can you refuse such things? You are obligated to honor your ancestors, but most importantly your Tusan's to the land that you are so willing to throw away. She argued, and while not yelling, held a tone of anger and hatred all the same. Those people who still feared or hated them, couldn't help but agree with the woman. While those who learned and knew better looked shocked at the woman's audacity. She spoke as if Naruto didn't have any real reasons for leaving, and just felt like it. Suddenly a loud barking laughter resounded within the area, making everyone turn to Naruto. You see, Oji-san, nothing has changed. Naruto reaffirmed. This village too ingrained in its ways to truly change, especially in such a short time. And while I can't blame them for hating Natsu-chan for what occurred, that doesn't defend the fact that those feelings won't change anytime sooner at all. People hate and fear what they don't understand or can't control, and I can tell you right now that the entirety of this village, save for a few, is the same. They hate me cause I housed Natsu-chan, they fear me because of my power. I know you are different, however the Haruno head just spoke exactly what many if not all the people here are thinking about myself and her. They aren't genuine in the decision of wanting me. Naruto back. No. They want the Namikaze back, they want my Kekkei Genkai back, the prestigious clan back. You heard what she said. I'm obligated to stay in Konoha and be used as an economic, political, and militaristic pawn of the Land of Fire simply because my Tusan was the Yondaime and both my clans resided here. She completely ignored my argument about why I'm leaving this village, simply for the fact that she doesn't want my clan, my strength, and the strength of Natsu-chan to fall into another village's hands. Naruto countered with a sad smile, before looking around to the crowd. In truth, no one but the Inuzuka, Ichiraku, and you want me back. They either want my clan for its influence in the world, or my strength. But they don't want me back, they'd rather damn me. Naruto-kun, I don't think. I think he is right, Hokage-sama. Yugito chanced to have her opinion heard, which made many scowl at her intrusion. And who are you to involve yourself in Konoha matters? The Haruno head barked, annoyed that someone from Kumo wished to speak. I'm Naruto-kun's friend for one thing, but more importantly I'm a Jinchuriki as well, so I think my words have some clout in this situation. Yugito said, slightly hissing. Please continue. Sarutobi offered. Arigato, Hokage-sama. As I was about to say, I know firsthand what this village is trying to do. In Kumo I'm hated the same as Naruto-kun here. In fact, several weeks ago Naruto-kun convinced the Raikage to have all Kumo shinobi stop being hateful towards me. And at first it was nice, the honest smiles, the admiration, the feeling of not being completely despised by my own people. But I could see that the majority of Kumo still feared and hated me for what I am. And in my opinion they always will for one reason or another. I don't think it would be different for any Jinchuriki. You people may say you've changed, that you won't treat us the same as you had in the past, and that you've learned your lesson. And perhaps some of you truly have, which makes my kin glad. But the fact still remains that we will continually be hated and feared. I agree with Naruto-kun in his assessment of your proposal. You offer him admiration, understanding and hope. Things he already has from his mates as well as Gaara-kun and myself. We accept him unconditionally. You offer him protection from the village. Yet you have seen him fight, not only against me but during the invasion, I'm sure. Do you really believe he needs protection? He could beat anyone in this village easily if he wished. Yet for only these things that he already has, you want his power, his Kekkei Genkai, his family influence, his loyalty, his submission to you. I find this proposal highly one-sided, favoring you and damning him. She explained, allowing her views be heard. Her views on the matter only seemed to reinforce the feelings everyone already had, the fear of losing his strength to another village, the hatred of what he is and represents, as well as the guilt and shame of the realization it was their own fault. Ah, so this is where you've been hiding. A new rough voice called out, a voice both Naruto and Yugito knew all too well. From beyond the council members who separated to make a path for the newcomer appeared the Raikage in his official robes. You've been a very naughty kitty, Yugito. He joked, though there was a threatening undertone to his words. Now that I've found you I can finally go back to Kumo, so let's go back to my room to prepare. He ordered, turning around quickly expecting her to follow obediently, but stopped immediately at what he heard next. No, Yugito's voice answered back firmly. The Raikage turned, with a look of shock and anger on his face at his shinobi, his weapon disobeying him. What was that? I said I'm not going back, not with you and not to Kumo. The Raikage took a moment to absorb her answer, before he began to laugh. Yugito, lest you forgot, your Kar-san is under my protection as well as getting medical assistance from Kumo. He said warmly before his expression darkened, never noticing Elena standing behind the demon pair. And I would hate for an unfortunate accident to occur if you don't cooperate. He said almost sweetly, but his threat was clear as day. Fortunately for you, Raikage, I happen to have a much better medical program than you do, and Elena-san happened to be a perfect candidate. So I took the liberty of taking her as my patient so you can free up those funds for other necessities you may need. Naruto intruded on the conversation, keeping the guise of medical treatment in his words. The Raikage took a moment to look at the Hanyu, and although noticing a resemblance to the man that attacked his vault offices, dismissed it, seeing the demonic features. And just who are you, and what do you mean? I'm shocked, I made such a good impression on you and you forgot me already. He questioned mirthfully, before putting up a henge to lose his tails and ears, making the man gasp. Ah, now you remember NE. As for what I meant was, I found Elena-san and reunited her with her Musumi. You have no more leverage over either of them. In other words, Yugito-chan is free of you, and her slavery to Kumo as a shinobi is over. Naruto explained, with a smirk before taking a sidestep to reveal a very pissed-looking Elena. The Raikage looked shocked at what was occurring. He was never informed about Elena escaping or being rescued by anyone. Yet here she was, his leverage over his weapon perfectly fine and now reunited with her daughter. He clenched his fists in anger at both the situation and audacity of Naruto undermining him in such a manner. He soon shot a glare at Sarutobi, after trying to think of any options still available to him. Hokage-sama, I request that you assist me in detaining my shinobi who appears to be deserting me, which will make her a missing nin of Kumo. He requested through gritted teeth, though it coming out more as an order. The problem with Oji-san doing that Raikage is that if he were to order such assistance I would be forced to protect both Elena-san and Yugito-chan. You see, I have offered them both asylum and my personal protection. So if anyone tries to either attack or restrain him I will have to retaliate. And Konoha is having enough trouble trying to convince Emi to stay here, so helping you out will make it nigh impossible to convince me to stay. Naruto retorted, basically giving anyone from Konoha an ultimatum. Gomenasai Raikage-sama, but Konoha must stay out of outside inner village military politics, especially of villages we aren't allied with. It could cause a war, you know. I hope you understand. Sarutobi answered coolly, making the Raikage grit his teeth, knowing he was between a rock and a hard place. He could either attack Naruto and probably lose, or get Konoha to subdue them under threat of war, a war he knew he wouldn't be able to win. I see. Very well then, for now I shall allow her a short vacation from her duties to the village. He relented, before another dark expression rose up. However, be warned that I will want her back, and won't stop until I see her once again kneeling before me. He threatened, before shunshing away. The moment he was gone, both Yugito and Elena let out a breath neither knew they were holding in, before Yugishio turned to Naruto with an appreciative smile. Arigato Naruto-kun. Not a problem, Yugito-chan, he smiled back. Never a dull moment with you, Naruto-kun. Sarutobi asked with a chuckle. Story of my life, Oji-san, he joked back. Is there really is nothing we can do or say to make you stay? Sarutobi asked, a sad smile on his lips while looking at Naruto. Gomen, Oji-san, but no. This village holds far too many bad memories and nightmares that I wish to forget, and I'm sure the village will be happy to finally have the demon child truly gone from their land. He smiled sadly back. As the two spoke, it seemed as if they completely forgot everyone else, and were just having a chat amongst themselves, a final talk between family. Where will you go? The elderly Hokage asked. Sooner. I promised to help Gaara with his roommate. Shukaku is anxious to stretch his legs some, I'm sure. After that, who knows, I have a few ideas but nothing concrete. As if a veil was pulled up from the two speakers, a new voice called out to them, turning everyone's attention towards the back of the assembled council members, before a group pushed through until they were all seen in the front of the group. Why don't you come back with us? The woman's voice questioned, getting a questioningly look from a majority of the onlookers and a quirked brows from both Naruto and Natsumi. And why would I do that? Last I checked I was almost as well liked there as I am in Konoha. More importantly, why would the clan and you allow it, especially after my banishment? Kushina. Naruto questioned, staring at his biological mother. Kushina shifted her weight nervously. She had dreaded this confrontation with her son ever since Minato knocked some sense into her. In truth, she was terrified, scared that after all she had done to him, she lost her chance to get her son back. Though no matter what, she had to at least try to get him back, if not to bring him to his only remaining family, then at the very least apologize for her unforgivable actions. I can lift the banishment, and allow you back. After that I'll announce to the clan you aren't what we all said you were. That you aren't the Kyuubi, but a human, and my Sochi. She answered, her eyes expressing the sadness, guilt and shame she felt. You realize it'll be just like how I'd still be treated if I stayed in Konoha, only on a much smaller scale, correct? People aren't robots you can just reprogram when you want something gone from them, and they immediately respond. People remember what they believe, even if what they believe in is wrong. You can't just say for over a decade I'm the Kyuubi, then out of the blue say I'm human and you're Sochi, and expect everyone to fall in place and act accordingly. I'll still be hated, and ostracized just like here, simply because people have believed I'm evil for so long. he explained, anger slowly rising into his voice. Kushina frowned, but nodding in understanding. I can't defend that, you're right and it's all my fault. For not protecting you better, for not defending you against all those who spoke ill of you, for allowing the village to pressure me into believing their propaganda, for being such a terrible Kar-san. But I know better now, I know I was terribly wrong for what I did to you, said about you, treated you. I know you aren't the Kyuubi like I said you were, you're my son, the only piece of my late husband Minato-kun I have left. Please I want to be the Kar-san that I should have been for you for all those years. My Sochi, my heart, my love, my blood, my Naru-chan, come back with us, with me, Onagai. She pleaded, her emotions so strong she began to cry halfway through her speech. Many of the onlookers were moved by Kushina's words, and even had the effect of causing some of the people who still hated and feared him to reconsider their thoughts. After all, if the woman who was probably the most vocal over his demon lineage had reconsidered her own views, who's to say he really was a demon in the first place? Many looked on towards Naruto expectantly for his answer, but before he could another voice resounded through the area. I think you should reconsider both proposals, Naruto. I mean, you may not believe it, but people can change with time. And while I admit not everyone will change their minds and opinions about you and Natsumi-san there, I believe your actions in the village will give you enough credit to have many of the villagers see you in a new light and accept you in time. Jiraiya spoke after appearing next to Sarutobi via Shunshin with a small warm smile on his aged face. I agree, Naruto-kun. Tsunade, who was next to Sarutobi, let her thoughts be heard as well. Things may not be perfect for you if you stay here. But it will still be a lot better now than it was when you were a child. I even plan to become the Godime Hokage once Sarutobi-sensei retires. So you'll have a powerful ally by your side within the village. Stay and live in the land your two-san lived and SD for. Stay and protect those important to you, stay and raise a family where you yourself were raised, stay and be happy with friends and family. She argued, sadness evident in her own voice. Many of those listening gasped when Tsunade said she would be the next Hokage, and were even worried about the fact Naruto would have her as an ally. They turned back to Naruto awaiting his answer. Unfortunately, the problem is that he paused before pulling Natsumi and Hana even closer to him before giving off a genuine smile. Quote, I already am happy. My life in this village was a nightmare I wouldn't dare wish on Orochimaru himself. And the moment I left, my life drastically turned around, and for the first time since I was 2 years old I was happy and even had a great friend and sensei in Natsu-chan here. I traveled the world and gained friends, allies, and fond memories I wouldn't trade for anything. While the only good things for me to come from this village after I returned was Hana-chan, the Inuzuka clan, and Yugito-chan. So why should I give up my current happiness for this village and what it's done to me and Natsu-chan? He argued. Besides, he continued, why should I have to fight for any SCR of nice treatment within my home? You say my actions towards the village with the invasion will help give me credit with the villagers, but why should it? I should have been treated like you say I will from the very beginning. I should have been treated like a human being, not some animal or demon, and I shouldn't have had to fight for people to act accordingly. Those involved in the conversation just stared at the orange-haired Hanyu, while they mentally searched for any answer, and unfortunately found none. There was silence for a while until Jiraiya spoke up once more. Was it really so horrible here that you will never consider returning, even if people change their attitudes and ideas about you? He asked, though it was more to himself. The moment the last word left his lips, a blast of ki engulfed the area. Though it was only potent enough to get everyone's undivided attention. Everyone stared at Naruto, who was the cause, and looked on in shock as the smile that had adorned his face when he spoke was now gone, a cold expression now etched into it, his eyes shining with an icy rage. Naruto released his hold on his mates and walked past them, his tail swishing about violently, as he stalked towards those who had been trying to convince him to stay or go back to the Uzumaki clan. The shinobi surrounding them prepared themselves for a fight in case Naruto tried anything, which also further proved Naruto's point. He stopped walking a few feet away from the Sannin, and looked at each one for a moment. Was it really that horrible, you ask? He mimicked Jiraiya's words, before a cruel smile graced his lips, making those who saw it flinch. Very well, since you're all so adamant about me staying, I'll make a bet with you. I'll show you what I went through between the time Kushina abandoned me until the day I left the village. Once you see it, if you can all honestly tell me I should stay in Konoha and go back to the Uzumaki clan because I'll be happy or happier I will. He offered, though didn't give them a chance to answer before he handsealed and pressed his tail tips against the foreheads of Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Kushina. Onopo, Shugi no Suna, Demon Art, Sands of the Past. Several minutes passed, with the four not moving an inch, the Orzens murmuring about what he was doing to them, and whether it was bad or good. Since no one else seems to have the balls. A random Anbu member whispered to himself, before disappearing a small cloud of dust in his wake. Many of the shinobi sensed Ki, but weren't sure where it was coming from and were tense about who the target was. A few yards from Naruto and the council appeared the assailant, with his sword drawn and ready to impale his target. Many of the other shinobi realized it too late to be able to stop him, but when he was only a few feet from impaling Naruto in the back, Natsumi appeared beside him but looking in the opposite direction. Her clawed hand shot forward and surrounded his mask-covered face. The power behind the thrust so strong that it held the man's head in a stationary position while the rest of his body continued forward from his momentum, the actions making him look like a rag doll. Then in a fluid motion Natsumi sent her arm and transversely the man's head followed by his body straight into the ground, the impact so powerful that his head made a crater, as his body landed limply. After her actions to protect her mate, she stood up and looked directly at Sarutobi and the rest of the council with disdain. This, she pointed to the now Anbu, is exactly why we are leaving. She stated in a tone that allowed no argument. Many looked away in shame and guilt, unable to look at Natsumi after what just occurred, especially when only minutes ago the Hokage stated this wouldn't happen. Haku-chan, Yugito-san, Hana-chan, Elena-san, get ready to leave. Naruto is just about finished. She ordered. As if on cue, about half a minute later, Naruto's tails pulled back from the forehead, swinging back behind the Hanyu. Everyone looked on curiously at the trio to finally get answers about what exactly Naruto had just done to them. Now tell me I should stay, tell me that I'll be happy here. Naruto growled out to the trio, his tone not hiding his anger one bit, making many flinch at it. As soon as his demand was spoken, the trio each had reactions that shocked those watching, all three staring ahead as if everyone else was invisible to them. Jiraiya simply looked as pale as a ghost, his face having no color, his eyes wide in horror, his mouth slightly open, which only enhanced his petrified look. Tsunade had the same pale complexion as her teammate, but her face was more one of a horrified sadness. Tears were streaming down her cheeks as her hands were cupped over her mouth in shock. But the worst reaction was Kushina. Her face was twisted to one like Tsunade, only worse. Tears streamed down her face, with her mouth open in shock, with her hands grasping her face in horror. What she witnessed hit her so deeply that even her body began to react. It started as a small shiver, before it escalated to tremors. Soon the tremors became so strong that her knees buckled and she fell to her knees, before falling back on her butt, her expression not changing at all during this as she just stared at the ground as if in a coma, hot tears still falling down her face. Naruto looked at each of their reactions, and snorted in annoyance about having to go so far as to show them his life back then to get him to shut up. What did you do, Naruto-kun? Sarutobi asked, shaken to see his two students and Yondaim's wife react in such a way. I did exactly as I said I would. I showed them my life here. He answered, making anyone who knew the extent flinch. Gomenasai, Naruto. I don't know what to say. Jiraiya's voice cut in, though his usual playful tone as the Toad Sannin was absent, his face looking slightly more normal but still holding remnants of his reaction. There is nothing you can say nor do. Naruto corrected. However, your reactions, as well as I'm sure future nightmares and guilt for what you did or in this case didn't do, which helped to cause all that you saw, are sufficient enough to sate the little vengeance I did have for those who have done me wrong. He shot back, making the two Sannin flinch at his bluntness. Tsunade wanted to retort, but when she tried to talk nothing came out. It seemed her own mind knew that to continue arguing for him to stay was now a moot point, especially after what the three saw, and inadvertently allowed due to their horribly selfish choices towards him. And it seems I've won, he bet, so sayonara. He finished before turning on his heels and began to walk away. A whispered and shocked voice began to speak, that only Naruto, Natsumi with their advanced hearing, and the Sannin being so close could hear. Gomenasai. Naruto stopped walking and craned his head to look behind him. Gomenasai. He looked at the huddled form of his biological mother, recognizing it as her voice as she continued to chant. Gomenasai. His eyes narrowed to SS, seeing tears still falling from her eyes. Gomen. You should be. He interrupted her chanting, his tone emotionless, making those who heard the interaction flinch at his brutal honesty, before he turned again so his back was to her. You abandoned your firstborn, your own and blood inside a village which contained stupid, bigoted, savage, fearful, and angry villagers when he was just 2 years old. You kept tabs on him throughout his life in the village, and after learning he survived began to train your new children in the shinobi arts for one purpose. To K him. So high you should most definitely be sorry, especially after learning that all you did was throw away your Sochi. He agreed, before sighing in annoyance. However, despite all that, you should know one thing, Kushina. Quote. He paused to give her time to pay attention to his next words. For those 2 years with the clan and you, I loved you unconditionally, and I truly was happy then. He finished, his tone much warmer than it had been moments ago, his words making Kushina, who was looking at his back, renew her tears of guilt, sorrow, and regret. Though this time some of them were tears of happiness that her son, despite not wanting anything to do with her, had loved her at one point. Naruto began his trek back to his group, however a presence rushing towards him from behind made him turn around in case it was another attacker, since he noticed the Sanbu and his death being one on Natsumi's caliber. The moment he fully turned, a body impacted his stomach before arms wrapped around his back, the shock knocking the wind slightly out of him. He looked down only to see a mop of red hair, arms around him, and a youthful feminine face crying against his stomach. Begin playing, Here to Stay by Bleach OST 2. Don't sob, don't go, Oni-chan, I sob, I don't want you to go. Kasumi's muffled voice cried out against the fabric of his shirt, shocking many of the onlookers, especially the Uzumakis, considering only days ago she wanted his head. Naruto was quite surprised by her outburst, but he couldn't help but smile at her actions. He caressed her head and hair gently, with a small smile pulling at his lips, and just allowed the young girl to cry. In truth, Kasumi really was the only person that Naruto was willing to put any true effort in, not only forgiving for her actions against him, but in reconciliation. Natsumi had been manipulated to believe that he was an evil demon, and was taught specifically to K him, and while her brothers were as well, she was the only one who seemed to question her clan's teachings. Valio seemed too hard-headed to realize the truth, and Kyoshiro just didn't care enough. Had either done what she did, he'd have attempted to befriend them as well, but alas they didn't. Finally, after a few minutes, Kasumi's tears dried up and just clung to her brother, not wanting to let go. Naruto, knowing this, pulled her off him, but kept her close and kneeled down to be eye level with her. Gomen, Kasumi-chan. He apologized in a warm brotherly tone, as he wiped the tear stains from her cheeks. But you know I can't stay here, and you know I won't be welcomed in the clan. I know, I just don't want to lose you. I get to finally have my Oni-chan back, and I'm losing him already. She sniffled. Naruto gave his half-sister a sad smile, and pulled her close into a hug. I know it's not fair, Kasumi-chan. He cooed, while rubbing circles along her back, before a thought came to him. Any Kasumi-chan, how about I give you something that will allow you to see me whenever you want? He questioned. Hearing this, Kasumi stopped the hug and stepped back to look at him. I can give you a kunai that I can use with the Yondaim's Kekkei Genkai, and when you need me I'll be there. How does that sound? Do you really mean it, Oni-chan? She questioned, an undertone of hope on her voice. Naruto just smiled, and nodded slightly before grabbing a 3-pronged kunai out of his supply pouch and handed it to her, no one noticing a genjutsu over it to look like a regular kunai. Now Kasumi-chan, I have a few rules about using it. Quote. He stated, his voice turning stern like when a brother spoke to a sister. Quote. I only want you to use this kunai when no one from your clan is around, not even Kushina or your Nisons. If they find out you have this, they could try to use it for some unpleasant purposes. Also, don't use it for any little thing. I'd prefer to keep it in the categories of training help, emotional help, and life-threatening help. Simply because I may not always be able to help you, so if we keep the usage down to those 3, I know you'll really need me, so I'll come. Do you understand what I'm telling you, and promise to only use this kunai with these rules in mind? He asked, before childishly sticking out his fist with his pinky extended, making a knowing smile appear on her face. Hi, I promise Oni-chan, she said happily, while interlocking her own pinky with his, sealing the promise. Naruto just smiled, before standing up and ruffled her hair playfully, before noting that Chum and Sarutobi now stood behind Kasumi. So you're really leaving? Sarutobi spoke, though more as a statement than a question, only getting a nod in response. I'm gonna miss you, you know. He finished with a sad smile. I'll miss you too, Oji-san. The pair moved forward and embraced, knowing it'll probably be a long time before they see each other again, if ever. They released the hug, and Naruto then turned to his mother. You weren't planning on leaving without saying sayonara to your Kaa-san now, were you? Chum said jokingly, with a sad smile on her lips at seeing her adoptive son leave. Wouldn't dream of it, Kaa-san, he answered with his own sad smile, before they hugged. You better take care of yourself, Sochi, as well as your mates. If I hear anything about you cheating on them or the like, expect to see me, and to feel a bit lighter after the confrontation, cause your balls will be gone. She threatened, though with a playful undertone, letting a few tears fall down her cheeks at having to say goodbye. Never crossed my mind, with two goddesses as my mates, doubt anyone could ask for more. He retorted. And if you take them, don't expect any grandbabies then. He threatened back while snickering, knowing it was a weakness of all mothers to want grandchildren to spoil. The two finished the private conversation and released each other. Naruto smiled at his family one last time before turning around and heading back to the group. Ready, Naru-kun? Hana asked. Hi. Let's go. Matt. A voice called out, confusing many while a few recognized the voice easily enough, and in a swirl of leaves between Sarutobi and Naruto's group, appeared Mitarashi Anko in all her fish-netted trench coat barely covering her generous BS mini-skirt, wearing glory. Go. Gumen Hokage, Sama, she apologized while panting out of breath, her chest heaving up and down with sweat glistening down her giving a rather nice show for the men in the surrounding area, many of whom had to cover their noses lest they from anemia. What's wrong, Anko-san? Sarutobi asked, wondering what was so important that even a special Junin would travel in such a way to be so out of breath, while trying to keep his eyes directed at anything but her glistening and heaving chest. I finally finished my resignation papers. She chirped happily with a wide smile, her answer making many fall over and the rest sweat drop. Sarutobi frowned. I see, I was hoping you had reconsidered, but I suppose that was wishful thinking on my part. He said whimsically, reaching out for the resignation scroll she had in her hand. Anko frowned at his words, and in truth hated seeing him disappointed, especially in her. He was one of the few people in the village to keep their word about treating her as Mitarashi Anko instead of the snake bee. She was always thankful to the Hokage for his sincerity and patience with her. He was her rock when times got tough and no one else was willing to listen to her. And when he proved himself countless times to be on her side, she silently vowed to herself to always make him proud of her. However, with everything that happened with Naruto as well as the arguments that just occurred when she was putting the final touches on her papers, she finally realized that just like Naruto, no matter what she did or tried, she would never truly be accepted by this village. Perhaps by a select few which she will hate leaving, but the majority of the village would continue to vilify her until her day. Anko bowed apologetically before speaking again in a soft, subdued voice. Gomenansai Hokage-sama, I know you must be disappointed. Hi. That I am Anko-chan. He began, his words driving a kunai into her heart. But not in you, but in this village. Their past actions are now coming full circle, causing me to lose two powerful kunoiki in you and Hana-san, as well as an even stronger ally in Naruto-kun and Natsumi-san. He explained, shaking his head in disappointment. I could never be disappointed in you, Anko-chan. You have served me faithfully and proudly for many years. You are one of the strongest shinobi I have, and while it will hurt both the village and myself to lose you, I agree that it's about time that you make a decision for your own future. Not for this village, not for me, but for you. He explained with a warm fatherly smile. Anko stood up at his words, and couldn't help but feel proud and happy that her elderly father figure praised her still even when she was leaving him. Tears rimmed her eyes, before she shot forward and wrapped the cage in a hug. Sarutobi chuckled at her actions and simply petted her head like a father would a daughter. Arigato Hokage-sama, she cried out. Hi, there Anko-chan, he answered warmly, still chuckling. I'll miss our talks, she confessed. As will I. I will miss your antics amongst your fellow shinobi as well. In truth, if I had a Musume, I would want her to be much like you, only not as bloodthirsty, and wearing slightly more appropriate clothing. He joked. Anko couldn't help but chuckle between sobs at his joke, with a broad smile on her face, happy at his warm words, and proud that he basically said he would want her as a daughter. The two finally released their hug, letting one last smile be seen by the other, before Anko turned, picked up her backpack and jogged up to Naruto's group. Decided to come with us NE. Naruto questioned, though assumed the answer. Hi. And I think I'd fit right in with your little group, if you don't mind, that is. She answered with a mischievous innocence. The group looked at one another, before most shrugged in indifference or nodded in affirmation. Welcome aboard, he answered with a smile. Arigato Naruto-kun, she said in a seductive tease, making him chuckle and shake his head disapprovingly. Well, let's go, soon. It takes about 4 days from here. The now group of 7 adjusted their packs before heading towards the gates. Once they reached them, they stopped when the shinobi blockade didn't move. We've talked to your council, please move. Haku requested, finally feeling that she could talk, since the topics beforehand weren't her business. The shinobi didn't budge an inch and just stared down the group, before hearing, let them pass from their superior. With begrudging murmurs, the Junin and Anbu stepped aside, giving the group barely enough berth to get through. Naruto suddenly turned back to those villagers present before he spoke. There is just one last thing I wished to say before leaving here. ... He paused, getting everyone's attention. And as I speak, I want all of you to think long and hard about my words and about yourself as human beings. ... He paused once more, getting odd looks from many. You say you wish to repent for your actions against me. You say you've changed your attitudes towards me. You wish for me to stay because of my human lineage, because I'm a hero of the village, because I'm the clan leader of the Namikas. ... He paused once more to let his words sink in. ... But I wonder, would any of you really give a damn about me if I really was an orphan? Would you really try so hard to keep me in the village if I was born a commoner's Sochi instead of a Hokage's? Would you even care about repenting and changing your attitudes towards me if I wasn't born into a powerful clan, but instead born to lowly commoner whom you've never heard of? Or would you keep your backs turned and leave me to starve, be beaten almost to death, cursed for simply breathing? All because in your eyes I'm simply not important enough to put forth any effort into helping. Because you won't get anything worthwhile in return from me for simply just doing the right damn thing for another human being who was suffering. He paused one last time. If you ask me, I think it's the latter. Sayonara Konoha. He finished, before turning his back to them, signaling for the group to continue, his words striking many in an odd sense, making them mentally question, am I really a bad person? As they passed the shinobi, an arm shot out and grabbed Anko, stopping her in her tracks. The purple-haired Junin turned to see who the person was that would lose their arm, only to find the sad, exotic eyes of her best friend Yuhi Kurenai. When were you going to tell me? Kunri questioned, her sadness deepening from her words, making Anko feel guilty as sin. Anko. Naruto spoke up. Gomen, go on without me, I'll catch up, she answered, getting a nod from the group, before she turned back to her longtime friend. Nai-chan, she began before stopping when Kurenai grabbed her into an embrace. You could have warned me, Yubi, the red-eyed woman said against her, Anko knowing that they used those nicknames with each other all the time and to not take offense. Gomenasai Nai-chan, I was planning on telling you, but with this whole situation in the streets I couldn't tell you alone. I left a scroll in your apartment instead since I wasn't sure if I'd get the chance to see you. She explained, hugging Kurenai harder. Even so, leaving like this, why? You know why, Nai-chan? Other than you, Obiki and Sarutobi-sama, no one here even likes me. You know better than anyone the names they call me when they think I'm not listening, as well as the reputations they've spread. And Naruto-kun's argument just now with the council was the clincher to my decision to leave and try to find a place that'll accept me without having to jump through hoops. Hi, I certainly understand that, it's just, I'm sad to see you go. You're my comrade, my best friend, my snake bee, my dearest sister. The genjutsu mistress confessed. I know Nai-chan Gomen, I wish I could stay, but I just can't anymore. You two are my comrade, my best friend, my red eyes, and the best damn sister I could ever ask for. And when I finally settle down somewhere, I'll make sure to write you. The pair finished talking, and released the embrace, taking a long moment to look at their best friend. The moment finally ended, and Anko smiled a genuine smile before turning and running towards the group that was almost out of sight by now. Naruto-kun, she yelled, though more like a pouty M. Wait up for lil ol, me. She finished playfully. End song. She reached the group soon enough and settled to walk next to Elena. Naruto-kun, where are we going after Suna? Yugito asked, making him quick an eyebrow. Oh, don't give me that, we all know you don't usually wing it when it comes to anything but the battlefield, so. We're going to meet an old friend. He answered cryptically, with a chuckle. So I hope you brought some warm clothes, especially you Anko-chan. Me. Why's that? My clothes are just fine. She looked bewildered while opening her trench coat to see if something was wrong, giving the group quite the show. Because unless you enjoy your NS being able to cut glass, and certain hairs, to become icicles, I suggest you buy some in sooner or when we get to the harbor that we'll be going to later. He explained. A good minute of silence reigned within the group, before the ramifications of Naruto's words hit Anko like a ton of bricks and she actually had the decency to blush. Hey, I'll have you know I'm as soft, barren, and smooth down there as the day I was born. And being able to cut glass like that would be useful as a KUNOICHI. She yelled pseudo angrily, with her arms flailing slightly, before calming down. Besides, I could always ask you to warm me up. She childishly whined, with a cute pout on her face, her words making a few of the women blush at her honesty, and Haku as red as a tomato. Mama, calm down, we'll avoid all that by getting some supples and clothes later, but for now let's get to Suna. The group nodded in affirmation, before picking up speed heading to their next destination. Konoha Gates. The group of 7 were finally out of sight when Hiashi strode up next to Sarutobi. The village missed a golden opportunity to gain powerful shinobi with what we did in the past, didn't it? The Hyuga leader asked. Hi, that we did, Hiashi-san, but it's our own fault for being fearful bigots who can't even use common sense when dealing with people different than us. It's a shame, those two would have made incredible shinobi, demon or not. And the boy could have probably become Hokage after Tsunade-san retires. The Hyuga leader stated before shaking his head in disappointment, before turning back and heading home now that there was nothing more to discuss. Sarutobi. A feminine voice called out, making him turn to see his old teammates striding up to him. Are you really going to let them go unsupervised? They may not currently want to take revenge, but you heard what he said. And with his power he could pose a very serious threat to the village if that fact changes. Koharu stated flatly. And what would you have me do? Send a group of Anbu to keep tabs on him so we know where he'll reside. He already said he isn't staying in Suna, so we should know where he goes for the village's safety. Sarutobi sighed at his teammate's bluntness, but to keep the peace he decided to not argue the fact that he trusted Naruto unconditionally. Very well, I'll have a team follow them. He agreed, getting nods from the aged pair before they left him to his own devices. Hokage-sama, a Junin shouted while running towards him. Ugh. Now what? He mentally groaned. Hi, Hokage-sama, I was doing my rounds patrolling the village when I noticed something you should know. He began, getting a quirked eyebrow from the Hokage. The Namikaze mansion is missing. What do you mean missing? I mean, sir, that where the mansion was only hours ago, is now only a plot of land and dirt. The mansion is completely gone. Never a dull day with you, is there, Naruto? Sarutobi mentally sighed, just imagining Naruto's large playful grin at the moment, figuring that it had to be him since Jiraiya couldn't have done it, and only a Fuinjutsu could make an entire mansion disappear with no one realizing it. Good work, I'll deal with this, continue with your patrol. Hi Hokage-sama, the Junin affirmed, before disappearing. Sarutobi took one last look at the horizon that Naruto disappeared over, before turning back to the council, and saw Jiraiya, Tsunade and the Uzumaki children helping Kushina, who was still crying, to get back to the hotel and get ready to go back home. A true shame indeed, but we only have ourselves and our actions to blame. Sarutobi thought, taking out his pipe, and began to walk back to his office to update the bingo book with 2 extra reward-less SS ranked editions with flea on-site orders for 1 Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto, and 1 Natsumi. Stay safe and be happy all of you deserve it after so long. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.